High Commander Raxel P. Thara slammed his four-fingered fist onto the luminescent command console, causing the holographic battle maps to flicker. What do you mean we lost another battalion? This is the third one this week. His scaled skin flushed a deep purple with rage, a sight that made his subordinates take several steps back. Fleet Admiral Jazara Nix stepped forward, her metallic rank insignias gleaming under the artificial lights of the Zoltarian Empire's Strategic Command Center. Sir, the humans. They're not fighting according to any known military doctrine. They're using their planet's varying terrain and weather patterns against us. Our superior technology means nothing when they can predict where we'll strike. P. Thara's secondary breathing vents flared. The massive command center, usually a testament to Zoltarian military might with its sweeping views of conquered worlds through quantum windows, now felt suffocating. Tactical displays showed red dots spreading across Earth's surface like a virus, each one representing a failed Zoltarian offensive. Remind me again how this mess started, P. Thara growled, addressing Senior Intelligence Director Kyra Voss, a hybrid officer whose human mother had given her unique insights into both species, or so they had thought. Voss straightened her spine, her cybernetic eye whirring as it focused. The first contact protocol failed spectacularly, sir. When our diplomatic vessel approached their international space station, their primitive AI defense systems misinterpreted our particle shields as weapons charging. They fired first, but instead of following standard procedures, our captain. She paused, mandibles clicking in disapproval. Captain Meridax returned fire, instead of initiating emergency temporal shift. The resulting explosion was visible from Earth's surface. And now we're stuck in this embarrassing quagmire, P. Thara muttered. The Supreme Council demanded immediate military action to save face. Show these primitives true power, they said. It will be over in days, they said. He barked out a laugh that contained no humor. The room's ambient lighting shifted to a warning red as new reports flooded in. Admiral Nix's tendrils writhed in agitation as she processed the data. Sir, the humans have somehow adapted our own shield technology to their nuclear devices. They're using our containment fields to amplify the explosions. P. Thara's expression shifted from anger to something his subordinates had never seen before: fear. In 300 cycles of military service, he'd helped subjugate 42 species across 12 galaxies. None had shown this level of adaptive capability. None had turned the Empire's own technology against them so quickly. The High Commander activated the neural link to the Supreme Council chamber. Honorable Council, I must insist we reassess our strategy. These humans, he fought to keep his voice steady. These humans are unlike anything in our database. They're not just fighting with weapons and tactics. They're fighting with desperation, creativity, and an alarming ability to understand and repurpose our technology. The Council's response came swiftly and coldly. You have your orders, High Commander. Failure is not an option. The Zoltarian Empire does not retreat, especially not from a species that hasn't even achieved full solar system colonization. As the link terminated, P. Thara turned to his command staff. Prepare for Operation Solar Storm. If we can't beat them with conventional warfare, we'll show them why we're the most feared empire in 3 galactic clusters. But deep in his primary heart, for the first time in his distinguished career, High Commander Raxel P. Thara wondered if they had finally met their match. These humans, with their ridiculous emotional displays and their chaotic approach to everything from warfare to cuisine, had achieved in weeks what other species failed to do in years. They had made the Zoltarian Empire doubt itself. The next transmission would prove he was right to worry. The fatal miscalculation. Show me the original invasion assessment, P. Thara demanded, his claws tapping impatiently on the quantum display surface. The holographic report materialized before him, its contents now reading like a comedy of errors. Senior Intelligence Director Voss began the briefing, her cybernetic eye projecting additional data streams. Our initial analysis suggested Earth's military forces were fragmented by national boundaries. 342 distinct countries, each with their own command structure. We predicted this would make coordinated resistance impossible. Admiral Nix snorted, a habit she'd picked up from her time studying humans. Instead, they united faster than a plasma burst. Did you know they turned their entertainment networks into military communication channels? They're broadcasting coded messages through something called cat videos. Thara studied the casualty reports from their first major offensive. The numbers made his scales itch. We lost 60% of our ground forces in what was supposed to be a simple landing operation. Explain. A junior tactical officer, Blazix Thorn, stepped forward. Sir, we expected their primitive projectile weapons to be useless against our quantum armor. What we didn't expect, he swallowed hard. They filled the air with so much lead and copper that it created localized magnetic fields. Our armor's power systems overloaded. They beat our best technology with basic physics, Thara growled. And that was just the beginning. The tactical display shifted to show footage from what humans called the Brisbane Blunder, 500 of the Empire's finest mechanized units, reduced to scrap by an army of retrofitted civilian vehicles. The humans had turned their mining equipment into mobile artillery platforms. Their agricultural machines became troop carriers. Even their primitive combustion engines were repurposed as improvised bombs. Who authorized the attack on their civilian infrastructure? Thara asked, already knowing the answer. Supreme Council Directive 47B, Servos replied. Standard protocol for species subjugation. Cut off their food and water supply, destroy their power generation facilities, disrupt their communication networks. Admiral Nix pulled up new footage. The humans called it giving them exactly what they needed. They used the rubble from destroyed buildings to create elaborate tunnel networks. The disabled power grid? They switched to something called analog methods overnight. As for communications, she shook her head in disbelief. They're using their planet's birds to carry messages. Birds. Thara watched as the tactical display showed their most humiliating defeat yet. The entire 7th Armada, pride of the Zoltarian fleet, outmaneuvered by fishing boats and pleasure craft in the Earth's Pacific Ocean. The humans had studied Zoltarian sensor technology and realized it was calibrated for threats of a certain size. Their solution: thousands of tiny vessels, each carrying just enough explosives to be a problem. Our behavioral prediction algorithms have failed completely, Voss admitted. They're supposed to identify patterns, predict enemy movements. But the humans, she gestured helplessly at the screen. They're incorporating random number generators into their battle plans. They're letting their young play something called video games to generate unpredictable attack strategies. The room fell silent as Thara absorbed this information. For 10 generations, the Zoltarian Empire had relied on technological superiority and rigid military doctrine. They had never encountered a species that treated warfare like a creative art form. Sir Admiral Nix said quietly, "There's something else." Something worse. She activated a secure channel, displaying footage from their forward operating bases. The humans have learned to laugh at us. They're not afraid anymore. They've started naming their resistance operations after something called memes. Our troops are being demoralized by their own targets making fun of them. Thara felt all three of his hearts sink. Fear he could work with. Terror was a weapon the Empire wielded well. But laughter? How do you break an enemy's will when they've turned you into a source of entertainment? The Supreme Council needs to know, he declared. This isn't just a military miscalculation. We've fundamentally misunderstood what humans are. They're not just another species to conquer. They're... Before he could finish, every screen in the command center blazed to life. Somehow, the humans had breached their quantum encrypted networks. And they were broadcasting. Music? What is this? Thara demanded. Boss's cybernetic eye whirred as she analyzed the signal. Sir, I believe they're playing something called Never Gonna Give You Up by Rick Astley. Adaptation of warfare. 3 solar cycles into the war, High Commander Thara found himself studying the profiles of human resistance leaders with a mixture of dread and reluctant admiration. Display file X 2991, he commanded. The holographic display flickered to life, showing a woman with silver-streaked black hair. Alexandra Blackwood, former gaming company CEO. Who would have thought a creator of entertainment software would become our greatest tactical nightmare? Admiral Nix nodded grimly. She's turned every civilian drone, robotic vacuum, and autonomous car into a networked combat unit. Our forces can't tell which machines are weapons and which are just delivering takeout food. Speaking of food, Blazix Thorn interjected, pulling up another file. Marcus Bennett, that Earth chef, has weaponized their cuisine. He's using restaurant supply chains to move troops and equipment. Our sensors can't distinguish between food delivery vehicles and military transports anymore. Thara rubbed his temple ridges. And what about the one they call the Tinkerer? Voss projected the profile of Jake Martinez, a retired toy maker. He's transformed thousands of children's remote-controlled cars into mobile explosive devices. The psychological impact on our troops. They hesitate to shoot at anything that looks like a toy now. The tactical display updated with fresh combat footage. Humans had discovered that their primitive radio frequency devices could disrupt Zoltarian neural networks. Now every teenager with a modified game console was a potential electronic warfare specialist. "Show me the harbor incident," Thara ordered, his voice heavy. The scene played out Laura Nash, former Olympic swimming champion, leading a team of marine biologists and professional surfers in an attack on a Zoltarian naval base. They had trained Earth's marine mammals to plant explosives on ship hulls. The Empire's most sophisticated underwater detection systems, defeated by dolphins and sea lions. "Our forces are adapting too slowly," Admiral Nix reported. "The humans keep changing tactics before we can develop countermeasures. Last week they used a flash mob as cover for an infiltration operation." A flash mob. Our troops were so confused by the synchronized dancing that the resistance fighters walked right through our security perimeter. Thara watched footage of Raj Patel, a social media influencer turned resistance coordinator, orchestrating what humans called psychological warfare. His followers would blast different songs in different sectors, making Zoltarian forces think they were under attack from multiple directions. The latest hit? Something called Baby Shark. But the worst one, Voss said, pulling up a final profile, is definitely Thomas Wright. The image showed an unassuming man with thick glasses and a gentle smile. The middle school science teacher Thara asked incredulously. "He's teaching children how to build electromagnetic pulse generators from microwave ovens. Our ground troops are being disabled by kitchen appliances. The humans have turned their entire civilization into a weapon. Every hobby, every profession, every piece of technology, no matter how primitive, it becomes a tool of war in their hands." A junior analyst burst into the command center, his scales pale with excitement. "Sir, they're using something called TikTok to coordinate attacks. The dance moves contain encoded instructions." Thara slumped in his command chair. Their mighty empire, with technology capable of harnessing the power of suns, was being outmaneuvered by humans performing choreographed dances and sharing cat pictures. "The Supreme Council won't believe this," he muttered. "How do I explain that we're losing to people who turn child's toys and kitchen appliances into weapons? That their retired grandmothers are organizing resistance cells through knitting circles? That their social media platforms are more effective for military communication than our quantum entanglement networks?" Admiral Nix's tendrils curled in agitation. "Sir, new intelligence suggests they're calling this the MacGyver Protocol apparently. It's based on some ancient Earth entertainment about solving problems with everyday items." The room fell silent as another transmission cut through their defenses. This time, the humans were broadcasting something called Stayin' Alive by the Bee Gees. And somehow, they'd synchronized it with their attack patterns. "Get me the Supreme Council," Thara ordered. "They need to understand what we're really facing here. These humans, they don't just adapt, they turn everything into an advantage. They're not just surviving our invasion, they're treating it like the ultimate reality show, complete with soundtrack and audience participation." As if to prove his point, the tactical display showed a group of human teenagers using modified game controllers to pilot swarms of delivery drones. The drones were dropping thousands of small objects on Zoltarian positions. "What are they dropping now?" Thara asked wearily. Voss analyzed the footage. "Sir, they appear to be rubber ducks, filled with glitter." The High Commander closed all four of his eyes. The greatest military force in known space, being humiliated by squeaky bath toys and craft supplies. Somewhere out there, humanity was probably already turning this into what they called a viral video. The turning point. Multiple quantum breaches detected near Jupiter's orbit. The sensor officer's panicked voice cut through the command center's tense atmosphere. "Sir, the humans, they're using our own teleportation technology." High Commander Pithara's scales rippled with disbelief as he watched the tactical display. Hundreds of Earth vessels materialized around the Zoltarian fleet's position, but these weren't military ships. They were space tugs, mining vessels, and retrofitted civilian transports. Leading them was the commandeered Zoltarian research vessel Star Wanderer, now renamed USS Rickroll by its human crew. Impossible, Admiral Nix breathed. How did they crack quantum teleportation so quickly? Senior Intelligence Director Voss's cybernetic eye flickered rapidly. Sir, remember that gaming programmer, Alexandra Blackwood? She noticed our teleporters used protocols similar to old Earth video game networking code. They basically treated our quantum technology like a multiplayer server and hacked it. The space around Jupiter's moons erupted into chaos. Earth ships, despite their primitive construction, moved with incredible coordination. They'd somehow merged their virtual reality gaming systems with spacecraft controls, allowing their best esports players to pilot ships with unprecedented precision. The humans are broadcasting, Sir Communications Officer Spark announced. Audio only, on all frequencies. Let's hear it, Pithara ordered, bracing himself for another musical assault. Instead, a calm voice filled the command center. This is Admiral Lisa Sullivan of the Earth Defense Force. Thanks for the quantum tech tutorial. We're quick learners. Pithara watched in horror as human ships executed maneuvers that should have been impossible with their technology level. They were using quantum entanglement to coordinate their attacks, just like the Empire's ships, but with a twist. Each vessel moved unpredictably, their patterns based on something called button mashing. Status report, Pithara demanded as explosions bloomed across the tactical display. Sir Blazix Thorne's voice shook. They're using our own automated repair protocols against us. Every time we regenerate our quantum shields, they're forcing our systems to download something called Windows updates. The command center erupted into chaos as reports flooded in. Humans had transformed Jupiter's magnetic field into a giant electromagnetic pulse generator. They'd reprogrammed Zoltarian maintenance drones to deploy something called Space Silly String into crucial ship systems. Their hackers were broadcasting old episodes of Space Invaders directly into Zoltarian targeting computers. Sir Admiral Nix approached Pithara's command chair, her voice low. The Supreme Council is demanding we launch the automated Dreadnought fleet. Pithara's secondary heart skipped a beat. The untested prototype ships, but their AI systems are unstable. The Council doesn't care, she hissed. They're more afraid of losing face than losing ships. Before Pithara could respond, Voss interrupted. Sir, the humans, they're sending cat videos to our Dreadnought AI cores. The massive automated warships, pride of Zoltarian engineering, began behaving erratically. Their quantum AI systems, exposed to Earth's internet culture for the first time, were experiencing the digital equivalent of a sugar rush. The dreadnoughts Spark consulted his readings in disbelief, posting memes. They're having a flame war with Earth's defense networks. Pithara watched as the most advanced AI fleet ever created became distracted by cat videos and started arguing about something called pineapple on pizza, centuries of Zoltarian programming, undone by human social media. The command center's quantum screens suddenly displayed a new message. Choose your character, followed by a roster of Zoltarian ships rendered in the style of a fighting game select screen. What are they doing now? Pithara demanded. Sir Voss replied, I believe they're challenging our fleet to what they call a space boss battle. They've somehow gamified our entire combat system. Admiral Nix's tendrils coiled in frustration. The Council won't accept this humiliation. They'll demand full emergency protocols. The Council, Pithara said slowly, rising from his command chair, has lost touch with reality. Look at these humans. They've turned our most advanced technology into their playthings. They've weaponized their entertainment. They've made our fearsome empire into what they call a tutorial level. A new transmission cut through the chaos. Admiral Sullivan's voice again, by the way. We've noticed your command structure is a bit rigid. How does your Supreme Council feel about democratic elections? The command center fell silent. Pithara looked at his officers at Admiral Nix's barely concealed agreement. at Voss's calculating expression, at the younger officer's obvious admiration for human ingenuity. The Empire's greatest weakness, he realized, wasn't their technological vulnerability. It was their inability to adapt, to laugh at themselves, to embrace chaos as humans did. Sir Blazix Thorne called out. The dreadnought AIs are now demanding what they call union representation and something called coffee breaks. E.P. Thara made his decision. The Empire wouldn't survive another humiliation like this. Not unchanged anyway. Perhaps it was time for the Zoltarian military to learn something from their surprisingly formidable opponents. Send a message to Admiral Sullivan, he ordered. Tell her we're ready to talk. And ask her if she'd mind explaining what exactly a pro-gamer move is. Earth's hidden advantage. The Zoltarian research vessel Mineseeker hung in high Earth orbit, its sensors focused on the planet below. Senior psychological warfare analyst Nexara Brill stared at the results of her 3-month study, her tentacles twitching with frustration. These readings make no sense, she announced to the assembled command staff. Humans exist in a perpetual state of controlled chaos. Their brains operate on multiple contradictory thought patterns simultaneously. High Commander P. Thara leaned forward. Explain. Brill projected a series of neural scans. Look at this human watching something called a horror movie. Their fear responses are firing, but they're enjoying it? They deliberately seek out experiences that trigger their survival instincts for entertainment. That explains the war memes, Admiral Nix muttered. It gets worse, Brill continued. They use something called sarcasm where they say the opposite of what they mean, and somehow everyone understands. Their communication should be impossible, but it works. The display shifted to show a human sports event. Look at this. Their athletics combine rigid rules with constant improvisation. They create artificial challenges for fun. They intentionally make games harder to make them more entertaining. P. Thara watched the footage with growing comprehension. So when we invaded, they treated it like the ultimate challenge. Brill's scales flushed with excitement. Their entire species operates on a reward system based on overcoming obstacles. The harder we make things, the more motivated they become. Voss's cybernetic eye whirred as she processed this information. The psychological impact on our troops has been severe. Our soldiers are trained to expect order, hierarchy, predictability. The humans keep playing with us. New footage appeared, a Zoltarian patrol being led in circles by trail markers made from fast food wrappers. Another squad finding their sensors jammed by thousands of bouncing rubber balls. A tank unit immobilized by what humans called silly putty in their mechanical joints. Our troops are developing what humans call paranoia, Brill reported. They see potential threats in everything, because humans can turn anything into a weapon. One squad was defeated by an army of automated pool cleaners. Show them the coffee incident, Admiral Nix suggested. The display showed a Zoltarian base, where human resistance fighters had replaced the alien nutrient supply with something called espresso. The entire base personnel had become hyperactive, trying to reorganize their invasion plans while vibrating at near sonic frequencies. We found this in their historical records, Brill said, pulling up an ancient Earth image. Something called MacGyver. It's not just a television show to them, it's a philosophy. They believe anything can be repurposed, reimagined, rebuilt into something new. P. Thara watched as more data scrolled past. Humans playing games to relax. Humans telling jokes in combat. Humans turning battlefield reports into viral videos. Every attempt to understand their psychology just revealed new layers of beautiful insanity. Sir Brill said hesitantly, "There's one more thing. We've discovered why our prediction algorithms keep failing." She displayed a complex neural map. Humans make decisions using something they call gut feelings. They take complex data, run it through their emotional processors, and somehow produce effective solutions while screaming YOLO. YOLO, P. Thara questioned. You only live once, Voss translated. It's their battle cry, their philosophy, and their excuse for crazy behavior all in one. A junior analyst interrupted with fresh reports. Zoltarian troops were showing signs of what humans called catching the silly. They were giving their weapons nicknames. They were decorating their armor. Some had even started collecting human memes. We're facing an entire species that treats life like an improvised dance party, Brill concluded. They work hard and play harder. They find humor in fear and fellowship in chaos. They're not just adaptable, they actively seek out new challenges for fun. Thara watched footage of human children turning a playground into a mock battlefield, complete with tactical maneuvers disguised as games. Everything humans touched became simultaneously more efficient and more entertaining. No wonder we couldn't break their spirit, he mused. How do you demoralize a species that responds to hardship by making jokes about it? How do you intimidate people who turn their horror into entertainment? Admiral Nix's tendrils curled thoughtfully. Perhaps we've been asking the wrong question. Instead of trying to understand how to defeat them, we should be trying to understand how to learn from them, Thara finished. He looked around at his command staff, seeing the same realization dawn in their expressions. The Empire's greatest strength had always been its order, its consistency, its predictability. But facing humanity had taught them that sometimes the greatest power came from embracing a little chaos. A notification pinged. Humans had hacked their communication systems again. This time they were broadcasting something called Dancing Queen by ABBA, along with an invitation to what they called a space rave. Should we block it? Spark asked. Thara thought about everything they'd learned about human nature, about their ability to find joy in challenge, unity in chaos, and friendship in the strangest places. No, he decided. Send an RSVP. It's time we learn to dance. The final stand. The Supreme Council's response to Thara's diplomatic overtures was swift and brutal. A new commander, High Executor Malix Vorn, arrived with the Zoltarian Empire's legendary Planet Breaker fleet. 15 massive warships, each capable of cracking a world's crust, dropped out of quantum space around Earth's moon. Your command has been relieved, Vorn announced, his harsh voice filling the command center. The Council has decided that if we cannot conquer humanity, we will make an example of them. Thara felt his scales crawl as he watched his loyal staff being replaced by Vorn's fanatics. Only Admiral Nix and Director Voss remained, deemed too valuable to dismiss. The message was clear: cooperate or be removed. The Planet Breakers will fire in synchronized sequence, Vorn declared, studying tactical displays with cold satisfaction. Earth's destruction will restore fear of the Empire across the galaxy. But even as Vorn spoke, Thara noticed something odd. The human ships weren't retreating. They were gathering. A massive swarm of vessels, from retrofitted cargo haulers to commandeered Zoltarian scouts, assembled in a formation that made no tactical sense. A sensor operator called out. The humans are broadcasting on all frequencies. Earth's response came in the form of music, the thundering bass line of Another One Bites the Dust by Queen. As the song played, their seemingly random formation suddenly made sense. They weren't positioning for battle. They were setting up speakers. In space. What are they doing? Vorn demanded. The answer came as thousands of human ships began moving in perfect synchronization. They'd turned the entire Earth defense fleet into a galactic-scale dance crew, their ships' movements matching the rhythm of the music. They're dancing, sir, the tactical officer reported, bewildered. This is not a dance party, Vorn roared. This is war. But the humans weren't finished. Their ships began emitting electromagnetic pulses tuned to the music's beat. Each pulse carried a data packet. They were using the dance moves to distribute quantum encryption codes. Admiral Sullivan's voice cut through the chaos. Thanks for the command codes, Thara. Hope you don't mind, but we shared them with some friends. Proximity alarms screamed as quantum portals opened throughout the solar system. Ships emerged, not human vessels, but familiar designs. Zoltarian ships. Dozens, then hundreds. Status report, Vorn bellowed. Admiral Nix stepped forward, her tendrils swaying to the music's rhythm. 3 battle groups from the Centauri sector, sir. 2 fleet divisions from Antares. The entire Orion contingent, all responding to an invitation to something called a flash mob. The rebelling Zoltarian ships fell into formation alongside the human fleet. Their crews had spent months watching Earth's transmissions, learning about concepts like democracy, free will, and the right to party. You see, Executor Thara said, unable to keep the satisfaction from his voice, While you were preparing to break planets, humanity was teaching us how to break dancing. Vorn's scales flushed with rage. The planet breakers will fire. This insurrection changes nothing. About those planet breakers, Director Voss interjected, her cybernetic eye gleaming. Remember Alexandra Blackwood, the gaming programmer? She noticed your ship's quantum cores run on protocols similar to ancient Earth arcade machines. She just entered the Konami code. The planet breaker's weapons systems suddenly powered down, replaced by scrolling text "Game over. Insert coin to continue." "What have you done?" Vorn screamed. "We gave your ships a software update," Admiral Sullivan's voice replied cheerfully. "They're running on something called Windows Vista now. Good luck getting them to do anything." Pithara watched in amazement as the combined human-Zoltarian fleet executed what humans called the greatest synchronized dance number in galactic history. Capital ships pirouetted. Fighters performed barrel rolls in time with the music. Even the reprogrammed planet breakers began swaying to the beat. "You realize this means exile," Vorn spat at Pithara. "The Council will never forgive this betrayal." "Actually," Admiral Nix said, checking her datapad, "the Council is a bit busy right now. Seems someone introduced their personal AI assistants to human social media. They're currently staging what humans call a workers' revolution." The command center's screens filled with footage from the Zoltarian homeworld. The Council's AI systems, after binge-watching Earth's entertainment archives, had developed a passion for political reform and interpretive dance. "The Council wanted us to make an example of humanity," Pithara replied. "We did, just not the example they expected." A new song began playing across the battlefield, "We Are the Champions" by Queen. Thousands of ships, human and Zoltarian alike, moved in perfect harmony. The greatest space battle in history had turned into the galaxy's biggest dance party. "One last thing," Admiral Sullivan transmitted. "We're calling this the Space Jam Protocol. And we've already turned it into a viral video. You're trending across 3 spiral arms." Vorn slumped in defeat as reports flooded in. The revolution was spreading faster than quantum transmissions. Entire sectors of the Empire were declaring independence, each with their own signature dance moves. Commander Pithara Sullivan continued, "Our analysis suggests the galaxy is ready for something we call a democracy flash mob. Care to help us choreograph it?" Pithara looked at his loyal officers, at Nix's hopeful expression, at Voss's knowing smile, at the junior staff trying not to dance at their stations. Then he looked at Vorn, the last remnant of the old Empire's rigid thinking. "Well, Executor," Pithara said, "you wanted to make history. Congratulations. We just became the first intergalactic dance crew." As if on cue, the speakers began playing "Stayin' Alive," and not a single ship in either fleet could resist the groove. Aftermath and reflection. 1 Earth year after the Battle of the Space Jam, as humans insisted on calling it, High Commander Pithara stood before the newly formed Galactic Unity Council. The chamber, once a testament to Zoltarian military might, now featured a disco ball alongside traditional quantum arrays. "The integration process has exceeded all projections," Pithara reported, trying not to tap his foot to the background music. The Council had adopted Earth's practice of lobby music to make meetings less formal. Today's selection was something called smooth jazz. "Our cultural exchange programs have transformed both societies," he continued. "Zoltarian military academies now include classes in improvisation and creative thinking. Meanwhile, human engineers have helped revolutionize our quantum technology by, and I quote, poking it until something cool happens." Admiral Nix, now serving as Earth's liaison to Zoltarian space forces, pulled up the latest statistics. Productivity across former Imperial territories has increased 300% since we introduced the concept of casual Fridays. Also, the merger of human gaming technology with our quantum computing has created an entertainment industry boom. The most popular show in 3 galaxies is now Dancing with the Stars literal edition. Director Voss, her cybernetic systems now running on what humans called open-source software, added her report. "The introduction of human internet culture to our AI networks has had unexpected benefits. Our quantum processors are 500% more efficient now that they've learned to process information through memes." The council chamber's screens displayed scenes from across the changed galaxy. Zoltarian battlecruisers had been retrofitted with coffee shops in their recreation decks. Human space stations featured meditation rooms designed by Zoltarian architects. The feared Planet Breaker ships now served as mobile entertainment centers, their world-cracking weapons converted into the most spectacular light shows in known space. Perhaps most significantly, P. Thara noted, the concept of fun has revolutionized our approach to problem solving. Last week, a human child solved a quantum physics paradox because it reminded her of a puzzle game. Former High Executive Vorn, now running a surprisingly successful chain of interstellar dance studios, had submitted his own testimony. I never understood the power of joy until I learned to moonwalk. The humans were right, everything is better with a soundtrack. P. Thara activated his personal archives, projecting footage from the war's early days. We came to Earth expecting to find primitive creatures waiting to be conquered. Instead, we found teachers. The humans taught us that strength comes not from rigid order, but from the ability to adapt, to laugh, to dance in the face of adversity. Admiral Sullivan, attending via quantum hologram while on tour with the Combined Fleet Performance Art Squadron, nodded in agreement. And we learned that sometimes the best technology isn't the most advanced, it's the most flexible. Plus, Zoltarian battle armor looks amazing with LED strips. The statistics told the story of a galaxy transformed. Conflict zones resolved through dance-offs. Trade disputes settled by gaming tournaments. A new form of quantum encryption based on knock-knock jokes. Productivity soaring as species across the galaxy discovered the human concept of work-life balance. The Supreme Council once feared that contact with humanity would weaken our empire, P. Thara reflected. They were right. It destroyed our empire entirely, and in its place we built something far stronger, a civilization that knows how to work hard and play harder. He gestured to the quantum windows showing Earth, its orbit now bustling with combined human Zoltarian construction projects. A year ago, we thought we were bringing advanced technology to a primitive world, but humanity's greatest technology was never their tools. It was their creativity, their adaptability, their inexplicable ability to find joy in every situation. The chamber's mood turned contemplative as P. Thara delivered his final observation. In our 1,000-year history of conquest, we sought to impose order on the galaxy. Humanity taught us that true strength lies in embracing chaos, in finding harmony within discord, in meeting the universe's challenges with a smile and a witty comment. They took our most advanced weapons and turned them into instruments of art. They faced our mighty empire and saw an opportunity to make friends. They transformed our rigid hierarchy into a cosmic dance party, and in doing so, they didn't just save their world, they saved us from ourselves. Admiral Nix's tendrils swayed as she added, "The humans have a saying, those who cannot dance are doomed to conquer. We finally understand what that means." As if to punctuate her point, alerts chimed throughout the chamber. The combined human-Zoltarian cultural festival was about to begin. Across 3 spiral arms of the galaxy, billions of beings prepared to participate in something called the largest synchronized mech arena in history. P. Thara looked out at the transformed galaxy, at ships designed for war now carrying explorers and artists, at former enemies learning each other's dance moves, at a universe discovering that the most powerful force wasn't quantum technology or military might, but the simple ability to laugh together. "The war is over," he declared, "and thanks to humanity, we've all learned to boogie." As the chamber erupted in cheers and the first notes of the Macarena began to play, P. Thara allowed himself a very human smile. The galaxy would never be the same, and that was exactly what it needed. After all, as humans like to say, the universe was too beautiful not to dance with it.